When healing begins, purpose awakens. This is a major insight into faith, healing, and purpose. Great night, everyone. Welcome. Welcome back to A Major Insight, y'all. It is always a pleasure to be here with each and every one of you. But before we get started, I don't know if y'all know, and I'm sure you guys have noticed, especially those that show up every week. Y'all, I don't know why my video quality has been lately, and on my end, it's very clear. But when I go back and watch the recording, it is blurry. I know it has something to do with my internet. I have full bars. I don't know. So I'm just putting the disclaimer out there. I've been troubleshooting it. It looks good on my end. And so let's hope tonight everything stays clear, okay? I'm actually watching it from this end just to make sure that we're good, okay? But anyways, y'all, welcome back, all right? Welcome back to a Major Insight into Faith, Healing, and Purpose. I'm your host, Ashley Major, and it is always a pleasure to be here with each and every one of you every Thursday, or as much Thursdays as I can get on here, right? If you are new, welcome. Drop an L in the chat if you're watching this live. If you're watching the replay, drop an R. Let us know where you're tuning in from. But this podcast is all about helping women navigate toxic life cycles, helping you go from broken and lost to heal whole and walking in your God-given purpose. And so we talk all things faith, healing, and purpose, as the name implies, right? And so I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. Tonight, our topic is purpose. We're talking about purpose tonight. I know for the last few weeks, we've been talking about faith and healing. And I wanted to dive into purpose because it's important that we understand what this is, how to go about this, and to make sure that we are walking authentically in that. You know, a lot of us, we want to find our purpose. Our mission is to find our purpose, is to make sure that we're living out our purpose. And sometimes we go about that the wrong way because we don't really have the right mental image of what that looks like, right? And so tonight we're talking about authentic purpose versus performance purpose. And I know y'all like, okay, Ash, what is this? What is this? Well, let's dive into it, okay? And so, all right, yeah, okay, great. We're all clear. Y'all, I'm excited to see that it's clear tonight. So let's hope it stays like that. All right, the first thing, before we dive into this, let me get my notes up, because before we dive into this, we need to understand what is purpose, okay? What is purpose? And y'all know I am a geek, and so I'm always going to make sure that we get some facts in here, right? And so the dictionary defines purpose, the noun purpose, right? Because it can be a verb, but the noun purpose is defined as the reason for which anything is done, created, or exists. It is a fixed design. It is a fixed design. It is the reason for which you and I are created. It is the reason why you and I exist. And so, if that is the case, then God created us, right? And so, what does God say about our purpose? And so, when we look to the Bible and we look at what is the purpose, right? We see that the purpose, based on biblical terms, is God's divine plan and intention for his creation, which is you and I. His creation, it includes the universe and humanity. Okay. So if we are thinking about the purpose, every single thing that was created has a purpose, and that includes you and me. And if we go back to what the dictionary tells us, that it is a fixed design, that means you can't create your purpose because your purpose is already created. You can't design your purpose because that is already done. Your purpose is already created. So we need to discover our purpose. We need to find our purpose, right? And so let's get into this topic because I'm excited to really just share with you guys, what came to mind as I was diving into this. Okay. And so a lot of times we get caught up in titles, we get caught up in roles, we get caught up in being the overachiever, being the caretaker, being the person who just does it all because we are trying to fit into this role. We are trying to fit into this title, being the best wife, the best mom, right? And our purpose is not about a role. It's not about a title. It's not even about what you do. It is who you are in God. Who are you in God? Ephesians 2:10 says that we are his workmanship. We are his masterpiece. We are created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Okay. Ephesians 2:10. For we are his workmanship. Another version says that we are his masterpiece. We are his masterpiece, that we are created in Christ Jesus for good works. So our purpose is to do good works. And then it goes on to say, which God prepared beforehand. So that means that before you were even born, you were already created for a purpose. If we go back, the Bible tells us that he knew us before we were even in our mother's wombs. So before we were even conceived, before our parents even thought about having us, he already created us. He already knew us, and he already had a purpose for us. So there's a purpose for you. He's prepared this beforehand so that you can walk in this, okay? And so this means that your purpose was designed before you even knew yourself, before you even born, before you even took your first breath, okay? And you don't have to earn it. This isn't something that you have to work for. This isn't a title. This isn't a ladder that you have to climb to claim this purpose. This isn't a role, something that you have to get a good grade in to earn. No, you don't have to earn your purpose. You don't have to perform for it. A lot of things we do, we perform for so that we can get applause, so that we can get acknowledged, right? And your purpose, you don't have to chase after it. You don't have to chase after your purpose because why? Your purpose is already in you. It is already there. You just now have to unlock that. Okay. And so I want you to affirm this over your life. Affirm that I am created on purpose, for purpose. I am created on purpose. God created you on purpose for a purpose. Declare that over your life. I am created on purpose for purpose. My existence is evidence of God's intentionality. We all were created for a reason. God was intentional when he created you. There's so much things going on in the world. There's so many, I'm on my timelines, I'm seeing so many deaths, so many suicides, and it really tells of the time that we're living in right now, right? But there's so much going on, and a lot of the reason people check out is because their purpose is tied to their performance. And if their performance isn't getting the praises and the hand claps and the accolades that they think it should, they're checking out. If they're not getting the acknowledgement from the people they expected from, they're checking out. And if you are in that position right now, and this is where your mindset is, I want you to understand that you are not truly living on purpose, in purpose, for purpose. You're not, because your purpose is already in you and you don't have to perform for it. You don't need an applaud. You don't need a hand clap. And so I want you to stay with me. I want you to validate yourself through the works of God, through the words of God, who he says you are. And so that leads me to our 2 points tonight. And our 2 points tonight is, what is the difference between authentic, well, our 2 points tonight are, are what is the difference between authentic purpose and performance purpose? And how can you walk authentically in your purpose? Okay, so let's dive into this. Now, before we do that, though, hold on. I have to do this. I was supposed to do this at the beginning. I got excited before jumping into this. Y'all, we have a sponsor tonight. Okay, we have a sponsor tonight, and our sponsor, I got to give them recognition. Our sponsor tonight, I'm going to play a quick video, and I want you guys to pay attention. I'm going to share a little more about them after the video. Okay, so let's recognize our sponsor, which is Dream Nation Media and the Creators Conference.
You give them the power to feed you, you give them the power to starve you.
Life is, you're either going through a storm, you just went through one, or you're about to go through one.
Burn yourself out and you put yourself down because you feel like you're not living up to this expectation of what you have in your head.
Some of y'all are just struggling because you are unwilling to learn new things.
Have a dream so big that it fills everybody else's dream. People want to feel special.
All right. So I just want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, the Creators Conference. Y'all, the Creators Conference is the ultimate space for creators, entrepreneurs, and visionaries to learn, grow, and connect. So if you've ever wondered how to bring your God-given purpose into, or how to turn your God-given purpose into a business, or your brand, or your creative projects, then this is the conference for you, okay? So it is October 10th to the 12th this year, and you can scan this QR code to learn more. Right now, there's an early bird special on VIP tickets and general admission, so you want to take advantage of that because this promo ends September 24th. But it is going to be in Tampa, St. Pete, Florida. Okay, so since St. Petersburg, Florida is going to be held at the James Museum, which is a beautiful wildlife and Western museum. Man, they have over 400 pieces of art. And it's a great place for creatives, right? So it gets your creative juices flowing. If you are somebody that is desiring or wants to even know how to step into your purpose, and you have a creative bone in your body and you want to turn it into a business, or you want to be an online influencer, this is the conference for you. Last year was phenomenal. And you guys got to see a clip of last year's, but it is phenomenal. So I encourage you guys, scan the QR code, save this video, come back to it so you guys can register for that event, okay? Take advantage of the early bird. Now, I had to do that, y'all. I had to do that. Such a great event, okay? But I definitely want to just thank our sponsors as we continue with our topic tonight. And so authentic purpose versus performance purpose. What is that? See, this is where a lot of people get stuck. This is where you may be stuck, right? Because performance purpose is where we wear those masks. We wear masks. Our desire to want to constantly serve, constantly achieve, constantly overextend ourselves so that we can be seen, heard, valued, and loved. These are the masks that when we take them off, we feel like we can finally breathe, but we feel we also have to keep them on to survive, right? This is the person that is the strong friend. This is the person that is the overachiever, the person that's the caretaker, the person that is the breadwinner, but doesn't know how to ask for help, right? This is performance. Whereas authentic purpose, this is where you are aligned with God's design for your life. This is where you are rooted in Him. Your identity is rooted in Christ. And sometimes it may stretch you, sometimes it may feel heavy. But when you are rooted in Christ and your identity is in Him, it doesn't get weary. It does not get weary, right? This is God's love, and it's going to challenge you. But you're not going to feel as if you have to put on a mask to get it done. And so these roles that we play when we are in performance, right? When we are putting on this act, these roles, they have good intentions most times. Most times your intentions are to help a family member, to help your loved ones, to be a supportive friend, to be that person that people can count on, that they can rely on. But at what cost? At what cost? Because these can be prisons. These can be the prisons that we lock ourselves into. And then they build up. The anxiety, the stress, the overwhelm. And now you have lost yourself. You've lost yourself behind these gates. You've put yourself in four walls mentally because this is the person I have to be to protect, to serve, to get the praises that I'm longing for. Don't put yourself in a prison performing. It is time to walk authentically. See, Galatians 1:10 says, "For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I still pleased men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ." So if you if your purpose is tied to your performance, then you are outside of God's will because your focus is on pleasing man and not God. See, Ephesians 2:10 said we are created for His good works. His good works, so that He can get all glory and honor. And so if your purpose is focused on giving men glory or men giving you glory, and when I say men, I'm just talking about, human beings in general, right? If that is where your purpose is tied, then are you truly walking in your purpose? Because God already created you for a purpose, and His purpose is for you to do good works for Him, according to His plan, according to the plan that He created for you. Last night on Bible study, we talked about Jeremiah 29:11, where it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord." He already has a plan for you. And so your purpose is tied to this plan that He already has. And so I want you to affirm over your life that I release the need to perform. Release this need to perform. Release this need to people please, because you're not thriving. You're only surviving. You're masking whatever it is that's going on internally by showing up for others, by performing for others, but not really working on the things that you need to work on. Not dealing with the things that you need to deal with so that you can be the woman that God has called you to be. See, I want you to affirm that your purpose flows from who God says you are and not what others expect from you. Your purpose flows from who God says you are and not from what others expect from you. Affirm this over your life. Own that. Who does God call you to be? Last night we talked about his promises, the promises that he has for each and every one of his children. So God has a plan for you. He has a purpose for your life. And so we have to unlock that. I want you to ask yourself 4 questions, right? 1, am I living from a place of being or a place of doing? Are you being who God has called you to be? Or are you simply just doing what you think you should be doing, doing what you think others expect from you? Are you living from a place of being, or are you living from a place of doing? First question. Second question, have I tied my worth to what I achieve rather than who I truly am? Have I tied my worth to what I achieve rather than who I truly am? See, we got to do the introspective work. We got to sit with ourselves and really dive deep, because a lot of times we just do things and we're living life on autopilot. We're living life on autopilot, not really thriving in life. See, there are 2 types of people in the world. There are people who exist and there are people who live. The people who exist, they let life happen to them. They let life go by. They are just doing what they think they should be doing, but they're not truly being. They're not truly allowing life to be all it can be, to be what God created it to be. They're not thriving. And so either you're living or you're existing. Where are you? Is your worth tied to what you achieve than who you truly am? The next question is, where in your life are you performing? Where in my life, you're asking yourself this question, where in my life am I performing instead of living authentically? Again, authentic living, authentic purpose is aligned with God's will for your life. It's rooted in your identity in him. And then the last question is, what mask do I need to lay down today? What mask do you need to take off? What mask you need to take that off, ball that up, and toss that? What do you need to take off so that you can truly live? See, a lot of times we hide behind these masks as well because we are afraid to face the person in the mirror. We hide behind these masks because they make us feel better about ourselves. But that's not love if you can't even look yourself in the mirror, if you can't even face your truth. You're only hurting yourself, which in turn is going to hurt those around you. Because when the mask finally falls off, because everything that's done in the dark is going to eventually come to light. When the mask falls off and you can't pretend anymore, when illnesses come, when financial disasters come, right? And I'm just saying, because life happens, right? Life is cyclical. Things are going to happen. Some days it's good, some days it's not so good, right? But when that mask falls off, are you going to be able to maintain the life that you've created, or be that person that people think you are, or who you've been pretending to be? Are you going to be able to keep that up? No, you're not going to be able to keep that up. And so we need to take the mask off now. We need to take the mask off now, okay? And so ask yourself, what mask do you need to lay down today? Now, let's go on to our second point, because we've defined what purpose is. We've defined the difference between authentic purpose and also performance purpose. Now, how do you walk authentically in your purpose, right? Because if you've realized that you've been performing, maybe this was a aha moment for you. You didn't even know it. You didn't even know you were performing. Some of us, again, living lives on autopilot, right? And a great example of living life on autopilot, because I know you're probably wondering, like, Ash, what that is. A great example of that is, have you ever driven somewhere, right? And your mind, you already know how to put your foot on gas, put your foot on brakes. Like, these things come automatic. You don't have to think about that. You don't have to use brain power to figure out how to drive a car. Okay. And so you're driving, you have something on your mind, you're thinking about whatever is going on throughout the day. You go from one place to the next, but you can't even remember if you stopped at the stoplight. If you stopped at the stop sign, hold on, did I stop it? Did I run the light? Like, has that ever happened to you? That's a great example of living life on autopilot. I'm sure I'm not the only one, because that has happened to me too. Okay. And so a lot of times we're just going through the motions. We're doing things that we normally do. We don't pay attention to how it's being done, because it's something that we've done time and time again. And so we're missing the moment. We're not living in the present because we're caught up in our minds. We're caught up in everything that we have to do. And so a lot of times life is just going by. Life is just happening. That is autopilot. But when you can be present, when you can do the things that you love and be the person that you know you're called to be, you can live authentically in the moment. Okay. And so, how do we do that? How do we walk authentically in our purpose? Okay. And so, there are four things, but I'm going to focus on three. There are four, but I want to focus on three right now, and I'll tie in the fourth. So the first thing is we need to invite God in, right? Because he already created the plan. Why are we trying to figure it out when it's already created? How many times you've told yourself, I need to figure this out, instead of going to God and say, God, okay, help me with this, because I already know you know the next step. Show me the way. When was the last time you did that? We get so caught up in trying to be our own heroes when God just wants us to surrender to him and ask him for help, right? And so Proverbs 19:21 says, there are many plans in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel that will stand. So it is God's counseling. It is God's direction. It's God's plans that's going to stand. You may have a plan, but God's plan is going to always prevail. And so seek him, surrender to him, ask him for help. Stop trying to fight against it and align with his will. Just that's it. It's that simple. Like, life gets so much simpler when we just ask him for help. Stop being that person that has to always be strong and self-sufficient, when we can just call on the name of God and say, God, show me the way. Show me the way. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is have an identity check, right? God has already designed us. He's already created us. Our identity, if we are rooted in him, it is there. It is already confirmed, right? You don't have to figure out who you are. You just need to read your word and see who God has already created you to be, because it's already there. It is already in the word. Okay. And so I need you to affirm who God has called you to be. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are victorious. You are a conqueror. He has already created you. He's already given you an identity. So it's time to align with that identity and affirm that over your life every single day. Replace the lies that you believe about yourself with God's truth. Read his word. When you are tempted to perform, ask yourself, why am I doing this? And then remind yourself that I'm chosen, that I am enough, and that I am God's masterpiece, because you are enough. You are chosen, and you are a masterpiece of God. Next, I want you to just take daily steps, right? Take daily action steps. It's easy to, say that I'm going to walk in my purpose and I'm going to ask God for help. And then life happens and it's out the window, right? but it's harder to really just put the ground and take a step forward every single day, right? And so I want you to be intentional about this, because God was intentional about creating you. God was intentional about the purpose that he designed you for. He was intentional. And so you need to be intentional about walking in that every day, discovering that purpose, right? And so that means that you can just simply say no to things that does not align with who God has called you to be. And how do we know who God has called us to be? Because this leads us to our fourth step, right? What gifts and talents are naturally a part of you? Because God has given each and every one of us gifts and talents. So what gift is natural? Not something that you have to go out there and learn and try to figure out, but what comes naturally to you? You may need to enhance it. You may need to improve on it. You may need to fine tune it, right? But what comes natural? Because see, these are the gifts and talents that God wants you to use for good works for his glory. Your gifts and your talents, these are the things that God is going to use to help you unlock your purpose. Because your purpose is tied to his will for your life. Your purpose is tied to the good works for his glory and honor. And your purpose is tied to your gifts and talents. So what are those? What are those? And so I want you to affirm over your life, y'all. We speak in truth over our lives, because the words that we are our own worst critics, y'all. When we are performing, we are our own worst critics, because we don't even live up to our own expectations most days. And so when we don't live up to those expectations that we place on ourselves, we are hard on ourselves. And sometimes the words that we speak over ourselves are lies. And so I want you to affirm truth. When you are authentically walking in your purpose, you speak truth over your life, because you know who you are. You know who you are. You align with who you are. And you affirm those words over your life every single day. You're not going to speak death over your life. You're going to speak life. You're going to speak words that are going to lift you up and not put you down. How do you treat your friends and loved ones? Do you speak down to them, or do you lift them up? That's the same way that you need to treat yourself. Most times we're not doing that. Most times we are not doing that. And that's the reality. Like, I don't want you to sit here and be like, well, Ash, I speak. Even me, some days I'd be like, oh, Ash, and then I catch myself and I'm like, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. We're humans. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have off moments and off days. But you have to be aware of it so that you can switch those truths, those lies to truths right away. You can catch them. They don't have to sit. You don't have to dwell in those. Speak life. Speak truth over your life. And so I want you to affirm that every step you take in authenticity draws you closer to the life God created you to live. Every step I take in authenticity draws me closer to the life God created me to live. Repeat this over your life. And I want you to sit down and I want you to think about one step that you can take this week. One step that you can take this week that reflects your authentic purpose and not performance. How can you use your gifts and talents to start walking authentically in your purpose? See, for me, and y'all, I've struggled with imposter syndrome for a really long time. Um, I knew God created me to be great. I knew God created me to be a speaker. I knew God created me to impact lives from a very young age. I've always, and sometimes from a young age, we know who we are called to be. Sometimes we don't. But I knew from a very young age that I would be on stages speaking. I knew from a very young age that I had influence and I had impact. From a very young age, I was in front of school speaking on stage, hosting and facilitating assemblies, reading, doing something, introducing guest speakers. I was a student all through high school, right? Elementary school, middle school, high school, all A's. Top 5 in the school, all through my 12 years. Now, college was a different story, y'all, because there were some struggles in college. At some point in college, I lost my way. I had no clue what I wanted to do anymore. And the reason that is because I realized that what I went to school for wasn't really what I wanted to do. It was not who I aligned with. And so I kind of lost my way. But even in that struggle in college, coming out and trying to figure out where, it all guided me back to the same journey. It all guided me back to this very moment. Because it put me in rooms and places with certain peoples, allowed me to build global connections. Global connections. I feel like if I didn't go through that process of not knowing, unlearning, relearning, trying to figure life out, going through some pitfalls mentally, emotionally, doing the things that I was in a state of depression, right? And I use that in quotes because in hindsight, I realized that it was grief. I was grieving, right? But I was in a state of just trying to feed my flesh. And I made some very poor decisions financially. But those poor financial decisions actually gave me some of the best experiences I've ever had, have helped me to create the best relationships that I have still today, have put me in rooms and places all around the world, have allowed me to build a global network. And so sometimes we're going through things, we're trying to figure it out, right? And at that time, I was not asking the creator, hey, what is your plan? No, I wasn't there. I'm not going to pretend that that's where I was. But again, because God has a plan for each and every one of us, Romans 8:28 says, for all things work together for our good, for the good of those who love the Lord according to his purpose. Hello, somebody. And so everything that I went through brought me back to this point. And here I am using my gift of gab, my gift to speak, my love for people, because I've always been a people person, even though I'm a very big introvert. Y'all, it doesn't look, I'm one of those, what they call social introverts, or how did, I guess that's what it is, a social introvert. Because when I'm social, y'all. But when I am home, I do not want to be bothered. I love being home. I am a home body, y'all. But it all led me back to this point. It all led me back to this point. And I'm using my gifts. I'm using my talents for the building up of God's kingdom, for the purpose that he designed for me. So what are those gifts? What are those talents that he created in you? What are those things that you know has been calling on you and you keep putting it on the side? You know that he's calling you to pick it back up, to use it, to figure out a way to get better at it so that you can use it for the purpose that he's called you to. What are those gifts? And if you're getting value, drop a V in the chat. If you're getting value, listen, I want to hear from you guys. Okay. And so we're going to wrap this up. I want you to think about that step. Think about that step that you can take today or this week, that you can start authentically walking in your purpose and really just take that mask off and start performing. See, sometimes we get so caught up in just people pleasing. And when you are caught up in people pleasing, you need to ask yourself why. Why do their opinions matter? Why do I care that they care? Why? Why? Because there's something deeply rooted. There is something deeply rooted. And see, this is one of the things that I help my clients unlock, because we got to get to the root. In order to fix it, we got to get to the root. In order to release it, we got to get to the root. Most times we deal with the surface and then we wonder why we're still repeating cycles. But if you want to break the cycles, you need to figure out why. And you have to face yourself, which means taking off that mask and really doing the work, really asking yourself the tough questions. Okay. And so before we continue, though, I want to just invite you, because next week, Tuesday, I'm going deeper into this, and I'm hosting my monthly workshop called Becoming Her Again. And this workshop is designed to help women who are ready to just release the past, ready to rebuild their identity in Christ. So, who God has called you to be, queen, and reignite your faith. Because without faith, we can't do any of this. We cannot truly thrive without faith. And so, this workshop is really for the woman that desires more. If you're ready for more, you're ready to start living, truly living, stop surviving and start living, then I encourage you, scan this QR code and join us. Join us on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. that is. And if you register today, everyone that registers is going to get a free gift. It is actually a great workbook that I've put together, a journal and a reflection workbook that goes hand in hand with the masterclass / workshop that we're going to go through. And it is actually, we do the work together. Okay. So I'm saying that because a lot of times you just come, you get information, and then there's truly no transformation. But no, this is a transformative workshop. You are going to do the work. Okay, this is an hour and a half of immersive work, doing the work to really start the journey of becoming the woman that God has called you to be. Okay, and so go ahead, register for that, scan the QR code, and I hope to see you there, queen. You can go to amajorinsight.com. Let me see, hold on. I think I have it here. So in case you didn't get the QR code, you can go right there to amajorinsight.com/her and register today. Okay. And yeah, so I want to also share with you guys one more thing before we close out, because I think that this is important on your journey as well. It is something that I created because of my journey, and because it was so impactful for my journey, I also created this for you guys. And so this is a journal, a 30-day journal that I created. It's called Get to Know Yourself in 30 Days, a self-discovery journal to create a deeper connection with your inner self. You're getting to know yourself. Remember, we talk about our identity. Some of you may not even know what your gifts and talents are. And so you need to figure that out. You need to get back to self. You need to get back to the woman that God has called you to be. And you maybe need to get to know her, because you probably don't even know her. You probably never knew her, right? A lot of times, and I'm going to go off on a tangent right quick. Scan this QR code. But a lot of times, y'all, we go through life like this, right? One thing happening from the next, and we're just surviving. We're just trying to pick up the pieces, and we're just going. You may have been a young mother, and you straight out of high school, and maybe you dropped out of high school and you now start to have to take care of a child. You don't know yourself, and now you have to take care of this next human being. So you're doing the very best that you can to raise a good citizen. And here it is now, you're trying to figure out the pieces. And then one thing happens to the next, right? You meet somebody. Now you're in a relationship. Now you're trying to be this wife. You're trying to be this mother. Maybe you're the sole provider of your household, right? Maybe you lost a parent at a young age, and now you have to be the parent in the home with all the other siblings, right? And so there's so much things that often happens to us that does not give us the space to truly do the work to connect with ourselves. And so as we go through life, we don't understand that, hey, I haven't really connect with myself. We just think that, well, this is how life is. This is what life is, and this is what it should be. And then we find ourselves looking at others, envying, watching, wishing that we could have that. When the true story is that we just need to go within. We need to seek our creator. God, what did you create me here for, right? I created a video today, and a lot of times, because of the traumas of life, because of the things happen, we ask ourselves, is this all there is to my life? Is this all there is? And if you find yourself asking yourself that question, then you know that there is more. You know that God didn't create you to just be a mother, to just be a wife. He created you for good works. He created you to give him glory and honor through the things that you do, through the gifts and talents that he has given you. And so we need to do the work to unlock that. We need to do the work to uncover it, because it is there. It is already inside of you. You just need to bring her out, sis. You just need to let her get some fresh air and see the world through new eyes. Some of us need to heal that inner child. Some of us need to love on ourselves a little more. Some of us need to just value ourselves, see ourselves in the way that God sees us, and know that we are masterpieces. Know without a shadow of a doubt that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, queen. That you are chosen, that you are royalty. Y'all think I just call y'all queens just to call y'all queens? Yo, no. The Bible tells us that we are a royal priesthood. You are royalty, sis. I am royalty. So why will I let my crown fall? Why will I let somebody else define me when God already called me royal? I am a queen. You are a queen. We are queens. We need to own that. We need to step into that. You are chosen. You are loved. You are beautiful. You are victorious. You are more than a conqueror. You are a masterpiece. Own that. Own that. And so I want to leave you with this, okay? Purpose is not performance. It is not performance, okay? You do not have to prove your worth. You do not have to prove who you are, because God already defined you. He already defined you, sis, okay? And so my prayer for you this week is that you choose to live authentically. You choose authenticity over performance. That you are aware of it, and when the habit, because we develop these habits, when the habit starts to kick in, that you put an instant stop to it. That you check yourself, that you correct yourself. You call it out, and you walk boldly in the truth that you are created for a purpose, that you are created on purpose for a purpose. Okay. And so I want to thank you, ladies, even some gents, because I know you guys tune in. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Share this with a friend who needs to hear this word today. Share this with a friend, okay? Don't be selfish. It's better when we grow in community. So share this with somebody who needs to hear this. Like, comment, let me know what your biggest takeaways are. Let me know if you have any questions. Hit me up, y'all. I love to just read all the comments. Many of you love to DM me, but y'all put it in the chat, man. Put it in the chat. Somebody else can learn from this. Somebody else can get value for what it is that you share. So don't be shy in sharing this. I see we have CC on. Welcome, Queen. Welcome, welcome. Those that are viewing by way of Instagram, thank you, thank you. Siegel, thank you. I appreciate that. And I truly wish the best for each and every one of you, okay? Because the truth is that you were created on purpose for a purpose, okay? Never forget that. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to prove your worth, okay? And so until next time, I want you guys to live authentically, live on purpose, and remember, you are a masterpiece. Love you, Queen. See ya. This is a major insight into faith, healing, and purpose with Ashley Major.